Arsenal have been shocked in what was a devastating match week. West Ham came to the Emirates and they surprised us, while Liverpool smoked Man City. Today we will reveal the real problem at Arsenal, discuss where do we go next, as well as getting an important update from Mikel Arteta. We'll discuss the intriguing developments going forwards. Yo, what is going on guys? My name is Bass14, welcome back to your boys channel, and this match week was devastating, hitting Arsenal fans emotionally in many ways. In this video we'll try to be as balanced as possible, so as per, smash a like if you enjoy it and subscribe to the channel if you are new. But starting off with what we learnt from Arsenal 0, West Ham 1. Even saying that scoreline sounds mad to me, on a day that Arsenal was shocked. Against a West Ham team in mid-table with the new manager in Graham Potter, they came to the Emirates Stadium, they played a 5 at the back, and held Arsenal to an XG of only 1.34, creating 1.09 of their own, in a game that Arsenal only had 2 shots on target. Once again, the mid-block was being our kryptonite. But Mikel Arteta saying after the game, "I'm very, very angry, very disappointed. That was nowhere near the level needed to win the Premier League. Congrats to West Ham, but a lot from our side we didn't get right. I never felt that we were at the standard and the level that we needed." The worst part about this game was a lack of fight, with star players across the season like Declan Rice putting in absolute stinkers. Rice himself was taken off in the 56th minute, with Mikel Arteta confirming after the game the sub was purely tactical, there was no injury concern. Against your former side to get hooked off is never ideal, as Rice dropped a 6.9 rating, 37 touches, 25 accurate passes, with 2 key passes as well. It felt like the West Ham fans were getting into his head, of course being their former captain constantly being chanted about, having scored that wonder goal against them last season in a 6-0 win. For his old team to come to the Emirates Stadium in the middle of a title race and beat us 1-0 must have been devastating. You also have to talk though about Ricardo Calafiori. Having started over Miles Lewis-Skelly and dropped a 6.9 rating, he also played only 56 minutes, winning 0 ground balls and getting dribbled past twice. As great as Calafiori has been going forwards, in this game defensively he was caught out. The likes of Kudus Wan-Bissaka catching him out time and time again. There was a reason why Mikel Arteta took him off so soon. But then you had his replacement in Miles Lewis-Skelly playing only 17 minutes, as he dropped a 5.4 rating. 5 out of 5 passes, 8 touches, but more importantly his second red card of the season. Sent off after losing the ball in a dangerous area. There's no denying this was a clear red card. For Arsenal, their 5th of the season. Rice against Brighton, Trossard against City, Saliba's one against Bournemouth, then back-to-back Miles Lewis-Skelly ones. 3 of them of course you can argue, but the Saliba and Lewis-Skelly ones you can't. Now he will miss the game against Nottingham Forest, and according to reports, he could feature in the Youth Cup quarter-final on Friday. While it's unlikely, Fabio Vieira also played a youth game after being sent off against Burnley last season. There are some questions developing of do Arsenal have some disciplinary problems, but having only received 2 red cards last season, the issue for me is something completely else. We have to talk about the creativity. In a game where the Arsenal captain Martin Ødegaard started once again and dropped a 7.3 rating, with an expected assist of 0.22, 4 key passes but 0 accurate crosses, not a single shot on target. There's no denying the Arsenal captain was struggling. In a year that he's created only 7 big chances, less than the likes of Tyreek Mitchell at Crystal Palace. Despite the pursuit of a striker in the January transfer window, the question I have is, even if we had Ollie Watkins in this game here, did we create enough chances? Once again suffering against a mid-block, an issue that we saw also last season. The clip of the game was this in the second half. Nwaneri finds Trossard running in behind, and instead of Martin Ødegaard attacking the space, he decides to run away instead. Now one could argue that he was hoping that a centre forward is there instead, but for me the problem is deeper. Despite being the highest player in the league for passes into the penalty box per 90, Ødegaard might have the highest through ball success rates of the entire league as well. But the question you have to ask is, what does it actually gain? Not in the top 8 in terms of expected assists per 90. The highest of course being Arsenal's Bukayo Saka. What I see here is a player that isn't comfortable doing the uncomfortable. Fantastic in certain environments, when there's less pressure in the build-up phase, but put him around the box where you have to be a bit more incisive. And Ødegaard hasn't got the killer pass that the likes of Kevin De Bruyne have. Where Liverpool have Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mo Salah, players that can fire a ball into the box and find them man out of nowhere. Martin Ødegaard is more of a through ball player, clearly more of a number 8 than he is a number 10. Without our killer passer in Bukayo Saka, Martin Ødegaard's flaws have been highlighted even more. Despite being our captain, I haven't seen him carry the team, and it's not from a lack of effort, but more from a lack of physical ability. Ødegaard is not a powerful ball carrier. He can't pick the ball up and drive past few players, instead opting for a slower game instead, because it suits his physical traits a lot more. But that's what Arsenal have to ask themselves an even bigger question. Can Martin Ødegaard be our chief creative provider for us to go and win a Premier League title? The idea of Ødegaard, who once scored 15 league goals, is something that we might have to evolve past. In 2022-23, Yes, he scored a lot of goals, but they were all from specific scenarios. What you want from your goal scorers instead is players that can score from different angles, different types of goals, that show a more balanced goal scorer. What Arsenal have in Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli and even Kai Havertz are players that have more variation in their goals itself. You then look towards Liverpool. Forwards that are able to provide moments out of nowhere. Instead of looking for specific patterns, they go off the game itself of instincts and are far bigger goal threats than Arsenal on a consistent basis. It's not about replacing Martin Ødegaard, but it's about playing to his strengths as well as adding to our team as well. With the profile of Ethan Nwaneri being far better as a number 10, as shown by 7 goals this season, while Ødegaard only has 1 non-penalty goal since April last season. It's not to pile up on top of a player, but in falling short of yet another title race, you have to ask these uncomfortable questions. Why is it that Arsenal aren't able to find solutions? Why can't we break down mid-blocks? And where is the next evolution going to take? For me, as much as we need a brand new centre forward, addressing our open play creativity is just as big a priority. In a game where Ethan Nwaneri started once again and dropped a 6.5 rating, 81 minutes and 3 dribbles completed, 1 key pass as well. He was taken off in the 81st minute, seen limping off the pitch, looking more like cramp than an actual injury. Going into next year when Bukayo Saka is back fully fit and available, we could see the emergence of Nwaneri taking over the Ødegaard current role, with Ødegaard able to play on the left-hand side instead. If it isn't Nwaneri, it has to be a different profile instead. But do you see Arsenal going and splashing the cash on the likes of Florian Wirtz, maybe even a Xavi Simons, with money also needed for a left winger and a brand new centre forward? But in terms of our striker in this game, it was Mikel Merino, a midfielder starting as a striker once again, a 6.8 rating, with 2 shots off targets and 1 big chance missed. In the game itself, Arsenal only had 1 big chance. A makeshift player doing a makeshift role, despite his 2 goals against Leicester. Unless Arsenal are able to create the same exact chances, he isn't a centre forward that's going to get us over the line. But on a more positive note, you also had the return of Benjamin White, coming off the bench for the first time since November, dropping a 6.8 rating in 14 minutes. The cameo was small, but we saw signs there and there. A player that on the overlap gives Arsenal a different dynamic. When it comes to breaking down deep blocks, he will be important. Go back to last year in the game against Brentford at the Emirates Stadium. That cross to Kai Havertz came because of a Ben White overlap. But in a game with the second half highlights, was our goalkeeper tracking back and outpacing James Ward-Prowse, showing more speed than the likes of Raheem Sterling and Leandro Trossard. Our only option off the bench was Raheem Sterling, playing 9 minutes and dropping a 6.6 rating. This is the prime example of what Arsenal's team currently is. Strength and depth defensively, but next to nothing going forwards. The misery compiler is our opposition. A Liverpool team that is fully fit and available, with the likes of Jota and Nunes coming off the bench, Salah, Diaz and Gakpo from the get-go, while Arsenal's top 4 goal scorers are out injured. The more that you look at it, the more that you think about it. The Arsenal board have completely sold us short. As Mikel Arteta says, we have to look in the mirror at ourselves, of what we can do better and the winning list, desire and the way we run, the way that we want it. We have to suffer for 24 to 48 hours, feel the pain and make sure we come back on Monday, with the bite and anger still there. But for Mikel himself, we also have to highlight a bigger problem, an inability to find solutions against mid-blocks. As once again West Ham came to the Emirates Stadium just like last season, parked the bus and got away with it. With no Havertz, no Bukayo and no Martinelli, a lack of dynamism in the final third, Arsenal were always going to struggle. But even in games where those players have been available, think about Fulham this season, Arsenal still don't know how to break down the mid-blocks, and it's having a massive impact on our season. Because despite being 18 league games, unbeaten against the Premier League Big Six, we have now gone 20 games against Newcastle, Fulham, Aston Villa and West Ham, with only 4 wins, 5 draws and 11 losses. All defensive teams that have come against Arsenal and parked the bus. At one point you also have to question the manager as well. Sometimes his hands might be tied behind his back, but surely tactically you have to find better solutions. Arsenal aren't the only team in the league where teams come and park the bus. But after another devastating loss, in what was the most shocking performance of the season, Arsenal's 15-game unbeaten run is over, with our title chances dropping dramatically. From 15.2% to 7.4%, Liverpool have now a 92% chance of lifting the Premier League trophy. So moving on to the killer blow. On a day that Arsenal fans were already devastated, there was some hope that Man City could have helped us out. But with Arne Slot's Liverpool powering past them, a 2-0 victory with Mo Salah on the score sheet once again. It was a game where Liverpool had next to no ball, but they found a way to beat the former champions. And we have to talk about this Mo Salah guy. With now 41 goals and assists in the Premier League, more than any other player by country mile, this guy has been so clear this season that if you counted only Salah's goals and assists away from home, with 27 he'd still have more than any other player, having now got 16 league assists from an expected assist of only 6. It does show his attackers have been clinical, but he is now only 4 assists shy of equaling the record of Thierry Henry. Watching him play and watching him thrive breaks my heart even more though, because it reminds me what also don't have. Our star boy Bukayo Saka, who himself was on course for a fantastic season, 24 games, 9 goals and 13 assists. Liverpool have their Salah and Arsenal don't, with no Havertz, no Jesus and no Martinelli. This is why when I hear about Mikel Arteta being replaced, of course there are fans that believe there are better managers out there, but ask yourself a very specific question. Let's just say we had your dream manager, whether it's Pep Guardiola. Do you think they can win the league when your only striker available is Mikel Arteta? Because in terms of this year's title race, Arsenal are now 11 points off Liverpool, despite of course having a game in hand. And what could have been 5 points is now 11, with even the current champion Pep Guardiola saying, how many points are they above Arsenal? How many games have they lost? They are the only team that can lose it. Only 3 times in Premier League history have a team had a gap this big in February and not gone on to win the Premier League title, the last time being in the 1990s. Liverpool have been fantastic and we have to give them their plaudits, with only 1 league defeat all season, that being all the way back at the start of the season. Arne Slot in his first ever season has built a Liverpool side that's been very well balanced. Things that even Mikel Arteta can learn from. Look at the use of Mo Salah. The reason why he's having this record-breaking season is because of how Slot has platformed him, giving him less defensive responsibilities, allowing him to stay further forwards. Something that Mikel Arteta should also do with Bukayo Saka. Platform your forwards that you know are the most lethal. Give them the best chance of scoring and getting the assist. But for Arsenal fans, it's also very devastating. And here with Man City only had Rodri injured, and they have completely collapsed. Arsenal have failed to take advantage, despite of our injuries, and the awful refereeing decisions. It feels like the board missed a major opportunity. You go back to the recent January transfer window and even back to the summer, having only spent a combined £70 million, made a profit with all our sales as well, while the likes of Man City are now spending 200 plus million. Since arriving in 2019, Mikel Arteta spent the 5th highest, behind Spurs, City, United and Chelsea. Yes, also had Liverpool, but with context behind that as well. In 2019, Liverpool were a top team. They had won the Champions League, they were going for a title, with all-time Premier League players like Van Dijk and Mo Salah, whereas Arsenal were the worst team out of the top 6 by a country mile, struggling in mid-table, not in the Champions League. Despite having the most work to do, Arsenal has spent the least out of the rest. In January, Mikel Arteta made it very clear. He wanted a striker and he went for Ollie Watkins. And according to an article on The Athletic, approval for Watkins was not unanimous. Some argued against paying a sizable fee for a player who turns 30 before the end of 2025, with concerns over his limited resale value and impact on future plans. But as is often the case at Arsenal, Arteta's stance won out. Josh Kroenke arrived in London to join the recruitment meeting a few days after the Villa game, and a firm decision was made to pursue Watkins. But the fact that Mikel Arteta had to fight a battle to even get the board to go for a forward, despite having no Bukayo Saka and no Gabriel Jesus, it's really damning. Saying before the game against West Ham, I am very obsessed by the process of it. This season now feels like a lost cause. It's not that Liverpool won't drop points, they have done in previous weeks, but do you trust our current Arsenal attack, with Mikel Arteta as a number 9, Sterling our only option off the bench, to close an 11-point gap down? All of this makes summer 2025 so important. For me, the most crucial window in this entire project. It's a window where Arsenal cannot mess about, with 2 key targets being Benjamin Sesko and Nico Williams. Both players on the same weekend that Arsenal lost dropped man of the match performances. Sesko with a goal and assist and an 8.7 rating. Williams with 2 goals and 1 assist and a 9.4 rating. Both players with insane potential, but still very young as well. With so many Arsenal fans rightly thinking, it's now time to get over the line. The question that I have is, say if we go for Sesko and Williams, do they have the ability to make the instant impact straight away? When you look at Liverpool and you look at Mo Salah, the likes of Van Dijk as well and Alisson, reaching their 30s and entering their primes, at one point Arsenal have to look past potential and look to win now. A major reason why Mikel Arteta went for Watkins in January. But in terms of the season itself, one thing we can look forward to is a last 16 time the Champions League. As Arsenal drew PSV Eindhoven, with a chance to enter the quarter-final, or we could face either Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid, avoiding the likes of Barcelona and Bayern Munich, all the way to the final. In terms of PSV themselves, they've actually made a very intriguing signing. The arrival of former Arsenal striker Lucas Perez, who was available on a free agent, has now signed for PSV. For Arsenal now, the Champions League has become that much more important. The only remaining chance that Arsenal can win some silverware. Of course, with the return of Bukayo Saka, Arsenal will have the star players soon available. And having played PSV in the past, they have the experience of beating them. But do you guys see the level of individual brilliance? You look at a Madrid that have Vinicius, Mbappe and Bellingham. The likes of Bayern with Musiala and Elise. Arsenal have a great system, but without our key attackers, do we have the firepower? One team that's trying to get in the Champions League though is Nottingham Forest, our opponents on Wednesday as we go to the Forest ground, against a side in 3rd place. Having lost to Newcastle in the last game 4-3, at one point down at 4-1, Forest will look to bounce back at their home stadium. Arsenal will need to find their own creative solutions. But I want to ask you guys for your honest thoughts right now on Arsenal Football Club. On a weekend that felt devastating, what's your current feeling around Mikel Arteta? What do you guys want to see change? But that is the video there and there, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, don't forget to smash a like and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to follow your boy on all of his social medias, then the links are down below in the description. But that was all of what we learned from Arsenal nil West Ham 1, a crazy scoreline, a devastating day, and for us right now it's time to regroup and go again and see if you can salvage a year that right now feels so hard to do so. Arsenal fans, my friends, stay tight, hold in there, and I'll speak to you guys very soon. Take care, and thanks.